So
Yep. It being 6:31, what's today's date? 12/17/2025. This meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission is being called to order. The meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with Governor Huey's open meeting provision extension signed on March 28th, 2025, which extends access to certain remote and hybrid meetings until June 30th, 2027. Real-time public participation and comments can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during the public input portion of the meeting, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be on the city's webpage. Please note that this is a professional meeting. Should disrespectful or inappropriate statements be made during the meeting, the host reserves the right to mute the speaker. All votes taken during this meeting will be done by a roll call to ensure count accuracy. Commissioners, if you would please state your first and last name so we can determine quorum.
Ruby Clay.
Lily Green.
Peggy Curtis. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Peggy.
Teresa
Hi.
Mack.
Justin Talbot.
And Joyce Voris. Do you see Leon in the participants? Or?
I did not see him, Madam Chair.
Okay. Well, we do have quorum. So we'll continue. Hi, Peggy. Okay, the first item on the agenda is meeting minutes from November 19th. Does anyone have any recommendations for changes or edits or anything?
It looked good to me, Madam Chair.
Yep, Madam Chair, meetings look good to me too.
I just saw two tiny little things. They're like minute in the minutes, really minute. One of them was on page item, hang on. It was item 10. Item 10, the very last sentence. It said, commissioners discussed options and agreed that the certificate should be continued to allow the applicant time. And I believe it should say the request for the certificate.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, okay. And the only other one was at the very bottom of that page. It said Agent Holden confirmed, what was it? That Mass DEP had issued a file number for the NOI and noted the importance of verifying abutters. I think if we just state that he verified that the abutters were notified.
Yep, that makes sense too.
That would be enough, okay? Just to make sure that we have evidence that they were verified, okay?
Sounds good to me, Chair.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other edits, I entertain a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, aye.
Green, aye.
Knapp, aye.
Talbot, aye.
And Voris, aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Okay. As far as continuations, we have several. Let's see. Number 4, 940 Belmont Street, NOI. Number 5, 549 Copeland Street, NOI. Number 70 Hammond Street, NRAD. Number 8, 68 12th Ave, NOI. Number 9, 196 Manley Street, NOI. Number 10, 484 Pleasant Street, NOI. Number 11, 1824 Main Street, NOI. Number 12, 31 Otis Street, NOI. Number 14, 23 River Street, NOI. Number 15, 55 Christie's Drive, NOI. Number 16, 0 Clarendon Street, NOI. And number 18, the intersection of Center and Plymouth, NOI. I believe that's it.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay. Commissioners, I request a motion, please, that these be continued.
Make a motion that the filings as read be continued to the next meeting, which is January 21st, I believe.
Second that motion?
Yes.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Nap I.
Talbot, I.
And Voris, aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, under new filings, we have a request for extension for 37 Frost Street. Representative Mr. Fargo.
Yeah, Mr. Fargo is in the attendees list. I'm going to go ahead and promote him to panelist.
Mr. Fargo, hi, I think you're muted.
Hello?
Hi, Mr. Fargo.
Hi, sorry.
How are you?
He's having a tough time with the Zoom. Yeah, I'm doing it on my phone tonight.
Okay. Would you like to speak to the commission about your request? Mr. Fargo, would you like to speak to the commission about your request for 37 Frost Street?
Took some time off from working to take care of him. He passed away. And then I started to get things going. Hello?
Mr. Fargo, you're on the air being recorded with a live meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So and then I started to get things going again, and then my mom got sick and she passed away, and I haven't had time to get things ready to go. I did get things going, and I'm requesting an extension because I haven't had time to finish, and I'm going to be going to before the zoning board pretty soon.
Okay, so these are the conditions that you're saying why you're requesting the extension?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't understand at first. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle?
Yeah, sure. I've got the site plan pulled up here. Maybe I'll just share that real quick.
That would be great. Thank you.
The commission issued the order of conditions for this project in December of 2022. So it's set to expire in just a few days. We do have time to issue that extension if the commission chooses to issue that. But that being said, this is the site plan here. Single family development on the end of Frost Street here. There is a wetland over to the south and the east of the lot. We've got driveway, utilities, and the structure here is what's been approved. I met with Larry on site. I'm not sure if it was earlier this year or late last year, but we did do the pre-construction meeting, review the order of conditions. And at that time, when we met on site, the erosion controls as depicted on the site plan here had been installed. And I went out to the site last week, confirmed that no work has begun on the site, and the erosion controls still look like they're in pretty decent shape. So I see no reason, to deny the request for extension. The commission can extend the order for up to 3 years. So depending on, if you choose to extend, you can go up to a 3-year extension.
Okay.
And this is the first extension request.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Fargo or Mr. Holden?
Madam Chair, my question would be for Mr. Fargo. Mr. Fargo, how many years would you think you would need for the extension between 1 and 3?
2, at least 2, but I'm hoping to get back to it in the spring.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sharifa, any questions? Ruby, Lily?
None from me.
No? Okay.
No questions. I agree with Justin's question, just kind of getting an idea of how long we think, he thinks he would need for the extension. It seems like he's had pretty rough time at things.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
um,
Sure. So
if
commissioners,
the-
what do you think? What do you think for an extension time would be? What do you think would be an appropriate time?
I don't mind the 3 years. I think that's enough, being fair, especially with everything that he's had to deal with. I would say the 3-year extension would be viable.
It's first time.
Yeah,
It's
first
first time
time
requesting,
requesting.
so
Yep,
3 years is fine.
correct. Yep.
I'd like to ask Kyle, how many extensions are you allowed?
I mean, really an indefinite number, but it's also worth pointing out that the commission is not under any obligation ever to issue an extension. So these requests are, at the commission's discretion. And I think my personal opinion, not that anyone asked, I think that the first extension, sure, as long as the conditions on site haven't changed, I think that's totally reasonable to issue an extension. When you get into the second, third, fourth extension requests, when you're pushing a decade of no work at the site, at that point, I think it's relevant for the commission to consider, why are we continuing to extend? But the first extension, I think it's totally reasonable to grant that extension request.
Thank you.
Okay,
I don't have any problems.
I'll entertain a motion for the commissioner, from a commissioner, please, to extend.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to extend 37 Frost Street for a 3-year extension.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Nap aye.
Talbot, aye.
And Voris, aye. So that, good. Motion
And just
passes.
one final comment on that, if I may, Madam Chair. Larry, this is mostly directed at you. We are under kind of a tight time frame, not for you to do anything with the extension, but I will issue that tomorrow. So the issue date will be before the expiration date of the original order. So I'll be in contact with you tomorrow about what to do after that. But the issue date will be tomorrow.
All
So
right.
the order of conditions stays the same. It just is the expected finish date would be.
Yeah, that's correct. No modification to the order. Yep.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. Have a lovely holiday.
All right, you too. Thank you, guys. Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas.
Let's see. The next one is the notice of intent for 325 Thatcher Street, a septic upgrade.
Yeah, we've got a couple people here to speak about this with the commission. Peter Lyons, I'm promoting to panelist.
And while you're promoting, could you verify whether or not the abutters have been notified and if there is a DEP file number, please?
Yes, I did receive the abutter notification slips today, and DEP did issue a file number for the project with no technical comments.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you see me and hear me tonight?
We can. Hi.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to share the plan. If you would like, it's just asking someone's going to give me permission to do it, I guess. Let's try it.
You should have it now.
Permission granted. Okay. Are we looking at the plan?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. For the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing the property owner here. This is 325 Thatcher Street. Looking at the plan, this is a triangular lot on the west side of Thatcher Street. Property line is bold, black down the bottom. We have an off-site wetland delineated as flags 1 through 5. The 25-foot buffer is entirely off-site. The 50 and 100-foot buffers fall on our property. Our proposal is to replace the existing failed septic system with a pump system. So we're proposing a tank and a pump chamber approximately 75 feet off of wetland flag 3. And then we're going to be pumping the septic effluent to a 20 by 35 foot pipe and stone leaching field, well outside the 100-foot buffer. So in general, we did everything we can to maximize the separation to the resource. The proposed tanks have to go here due to the existing plumbing coming out of the back house and just general site topography won't allow us to push the tanks any further away. So the tanks are again 75 feet off, and the leaching field is entirely and well out of the 100-foot buffer. To protect the resource, we're proposing a 12-inch straw wattle starting outside the 100-foot buffer and wrapping around the entire site access area, which is to the south of the house. We also show a dewatering location if required. Details for that are on the plan. It's basically a double stacked hay bales with filter fabric between. What else? Let's see. The leaching field, there will be a little bit of grade change associated with that, but again, well outside of conservation jurisdiction. This has been granted approval by the Board of Health. Pretty straightforward project and improvement as there's an existing failed septic on site. The existing components are a tank, which will be pumped and filled, and an existing leaching pit that will be pumped and filled as well.
What do they get filled with?
Typically they pump them to get all the stuff out of it, and they use like a clean sand or a flowable fill, which is like a low density concrete. Either of those are fine. We don't really want a collapse hazard in the future. So like this, where it's close to the house, it's pretty common to pump it, fill it, and abandon it in place rather than digging up next to the foundation. So yeah, very common and very safe.
Okay.
Technique.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
Well, Kyle, do you have anything before the commission asks questions? Do you have anything?
Yeah, sure. I've got a quick question. You may have covered this, Peter, but the leaching field that's located to the north side of the garage, that's a new installation. Is that correct?
What's that? The leaching field?
Yeah.
It is proposed new leaching field. Yes, it's just existing lawn over there now. So the project consists of new tanks within jurisdiction, and then the entire leaching and excavation for the leaching field is outside the 100-foot, even outside 150 feet to the source. So
yeah, understood. I've never heard of the existing leaching, what do you call that? Leaching pit down there, that circle by the tanks?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that. So I wasn't sure where the existing leach, mechanism was. So that's where his cursor is now for the commission's information. All right. Thanks for the clarification, Peter.
And you said that everything will be pumped, correct? Up to that leaching field.
Yep. Typically, you'll at least find liquids and stuff in the septic tank. So that definitely needs to be pumped. And then the cesspool or leaching pit that's out back, you may or may not encounter, water and stuff in that. So they'll be pumped as required. It's pretty common practice for any of these septic installers. So.
Madam Chair, were you asking if the new leaching field is going to be pumped from the house to the new leaching field?
Yeah, actually. Yeah. So is the waste actually going to be pumped up to the leaching field, or is it wastewater, just wastewater?
Understood. I get your question a little better now. Yeah, so if we go up to the top of the plan, this might make a little more sense. So basically everything comes out of the house, goes into a septic tank where the solids kind of settle out. And then the second tank, the pump chamber, there's a filter on here. So all you're really getting is liquids. There's no solids, toilet paper, none of that stuff. So it's just liquids in this tank. And then because of the groundwater being high, it's an elevated leaching field. So we're not able to do a gravity run to the leach field. So we pump it from the tank, and then it gets pumped directly to the leaching field. So this line coming here is actually kind of going uphill slightly.
Okay. So is there a requirement that it has to be on a generator or anything like that? If there were a power outage?
It is not a requirement. It is definitely a good thing to have a generator. How these operate, without really getting into the details, this is 1,000-gallon pump chamber, so they're intended to stay pretty low. They don't fill all the way up and then pump. As soon as there's some water in it, they pump. And what that does is, it's never higher than a quarter of the way up the tank.
Okay.
And the rest of that is your reserve capacity. So, you have 800 gallons worth of a reserve, which generally is, 48 hours or so without power.
Okay.
So more than 2 or 3 days, you gotta be mindful of it, yes.
Peter, can I ask you a question? The picture you just showed us, is that the 3 set floats? The high, low, and the I have a problem?
Say that again with the floats.
Those are the 3 floats, right? The first float, second float, third float would make an alarm.
Correct. The alarm is the higher one.
Yep.
Yep.
So they would get,
So,
Madam Chair, they would get notified if it got too
I
high.
see. Yep.
yeah, so there's a visual and an audible alarm panel that gets attached to the house. So you can see the numbers on here. It's not much. Once the liquid gets a foot above the base of the tank, it's kicking on an alarm. So if there's an issue with the pump, they would also get that alarm, plenty of notice.
Okay, good. The only other question that I had was Kyle, I think it was in your agent report. It mentioned something about proposing a 3-foot elevation difference between the bottom of the leaching field and the high groundwater elevation as opposed to 4 feet.
Yep.
Has there been a percolation test done to verify that that's okay?
Yes, there has, and that is part of the Board of Health approval. So, in general, we have a water table about 4 feet below the surface at this site. The perk test and groundwater observation were done November 12th, witnessed by the Board of Health. So that's basically our design point for the leaching field. It's very common for the Board of Health to allow a reduction from that required separation. So generally, Title V requires a 4-foot separation. We can ask for a variance to lower that to 3 feet. So basically what it does is, as proposed and approved by the Board of Health, the grade will be, the height of the yard will be coming up about 1.5 feet. Without that variance, it'd be about 2.5 feet, so an additional foot higher. So typically we're doing that. It saves the customer a little bit of money, and it saves, the aesthetics. Everyone sees, the big septic mounds in the front yard. This is taking the curse off of that, and we're helping out with anytime you make a mound, you're redirecting the water flow. So the higher this comes, the more water we're shedding to the neighbors, the more water we're shedding back to the garage.
Yeah.
And again, this has been approved by the Board of Health with that reduction.
Okay. When I read that, I wasn't sure who would do that, but that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Commissioners, any questions?
I do. I just about the site access and the material staging. Like, what does that look like for the process?
Sure. So really we have 2 components going on to this installation. The leaching field itself is the larger excavation. That is all going to be done from the driveway. There's going to be trucks coming in probably from the driveway and excavators scooping and loading right out. So all of this work is going to happen outside of conservation jurisdiction, from the driveway or from the street directly. It's a very open, flat yard, so there's plenty of room for soil stockpiling, equipment and material storage outside of the 100-foot buffer. Things we are going to be within jurisdiction is going on right in here. So that's going to be the new tanks that are going to be installed. This is our proposed erosion control line. Basically, we've given them enough room to access through this southern side of the yard because they will have to dig pretty deep holes, about 7 or 8 feet, to get these tanks in. And then once they dig the hole, they'll have a large, flatbed style truck that backs in and delivers these tanks. So for site access, we're proposing as close to 52 feet to the resource, and that's really the minimum we can get away with getting trucks in here. Not enough room between the house, and with the existing trees, it's not realistic to come around the house this way. Um, Again, this is a very flat site. We're proposing 12-inch straw wattle, which will sufficiently protect the resource area off-site to the south.
Okay, good. Are those trees that are right on in that lawn yard that you said that you'd be crossing over from? It looks like it's south of the house.
Down here?
That area, are those trees?
Yes. Those are trees. I can try to zoom in a little bit. Usually we got a size on them. Oh, bear with me. So, looks like about a 15-inch diameter and a 12-inch diameter tree here. The 15-inch looks totally out of the way. The 12-inch, I would imagine they're going to be able to get by that. We weren't planning on removal of any trees, so it looks to be about 15 feet or so between the base of this tree and the proposed erosion control. The rest of the site is existing lawn. We're proposing the plumbing, so that it avoids all the trees. This area up here, we're avoiding all the trees.
Yeah, I was just not concerned, but wondering about, removal of tree within that zone, within the buffer zone.
We are not anticipating the removal of any trees. Additionally, zoomed in while we're here, there's a catch basin on the road. We're just providing silt sacks to protect that drains out to the back of the property, eventually tying into the wetlands.
Okay. Commissioners, Lil?
Hello. You might have explained or I might have misunderstood. For the old septic system, you mentioned, they'd have to pump out the old stuff before they could fill it. I was just wondering, where does that old stuff, does like get put into like some type of tanker and removed offsite, or is it like how? Because the new septic system obviously isn't in yet, so I was just wondering where the old stuff, if anything, gets pumped out, where it goes.
Yeah, so they have septic pump trucks. As general maintenance, the septic system should be pumped every few years. So you would call a licensed septic pump truck company, and they would come and pump it out. Typically, that stuff ends up going to the wastewater treatment plants to be dealt with.
And I think I've seen those. Oops, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Those trucks, are they, I think, do they have a long enough, would the truck be parked by like the street and they have like a hose that would go all the way? Would that truck have to back into where that old tank is to be able to access it?
They have a pretty long hose, so I would imagine something like this. I don't see why they wouldn't back in the driveway and put their hose right through.
Okay.
Good. Commissioners, anything else? Peggy, Sharifa, Kyle, anything else?
Yeah, I've got some things. You ready?
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you, Peter. I think it was a very comprehensive review of the proposed work. So this is more about the compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act. in the act, septic systems are presumed to protect the interest of the act. If it is, there are some conditions. So if it is not located within a wetland resource area, and it's not here, we're in the buffer zone only. B, if the soil absorption system of the system is set back at least 50 horizontal feet from the boundary of the wetland resource area, in which case this is like 200-ish or 170, so this is also well outside of that area. And then finally, if the system is constructed in compliance with the requirements that Peter cited earlier about basically the septic system constructions. They did request one variance for this, so that's why I brought this up in my report. The variance that they requested for the construction of the septic system was for the infiltration field, which is well without outside of the commission's jurisdiction, 200 feet or so away from the wetlands. So all that said, I think the proposed system with the layout and the variances that they've requested and received from the health department do meet the requirements of the act and are presumed to protect the interests of the act as proposed here. So as far as the work proposed, I don't see any issue with that. I'm glad that Commissioner Clay inquired about the access and the material staging. I do have a question kind of along those lines. Peter, when they are excavating, the pits for the two new septic tanks by the house within that 100-foot jurisdictional area, will that be the material that's excavated just be immediately loaded on the trucks? Are you going to be stockpiling that somewhere within the limit of work, or like how's that going to work out?
Sure. So in general, there's really no after the fact grade change associated with this tank. So the volume of the tanks, so 1,500 plus 1,000, approximately 2,500 gallons equivalent of soil is going to be removed from site. So that will all be taken out right away. There'll be a small, couple of yards probably stockpile, which could even be placed outside of the 100-foot buffer. That would just be used for basically backfilling the tanks, compacting them, and leveling them off. So the big stockpile would occur basically in this open lawn area here. Typically what they do is it's a 20 by 35 field, but there's a 5-foot dig around it. So this is going to be a 30 by 45-foot hole a couple feet in the ground. So it's going to look like they're digging a foundation for a house. And that's going to be backfilled with sand. But in the meantime, there will be a lot of soil left on site for the leaching. Not so much for the tanks. The tanks are going to be a pretty clean operation. Typically, they get those holes dug, the tanks placed, and mostly backfilled within about a day. So it's not like something that's going to be left open all week. Again, this is a very flat site, the 12-inch straw wattle combined with the existing lawn. We have no concerns with any sediment migrating towards the resource. Hopefully that addressed some of your questions and concerns.
So that's really all the comments I have about the specific project, but I do have other comments associated with the filing, and give me 1 second. Commissioner Curtis has texted me. I think she's disconnected. All right. As part of the filing, all right. Thanks, Sharif. I'm going to promote Peggy back to to a panelist. She's in the attendees list. Okay. So I think Commissioner Curtis should be back in shortly. As part of the filing, they did submit a wetland, assessment report by Brooke Monroe of Pine Brook Consulting. And in Brooke's report, she noted that there has been some fill yard waste that's been dumped into the wetland down here on the south side of this site plan. Again, this is off-site. This is not on the lot that is 325 Thatcher Street. It is important to note that the south of the site, there's a paper road for Hammond Street that separates the two residential lots of 325 Thatcher Street and 337 Thatcher Street on the south side of the plan here. So and that's yeah, where Peter's got his cursor there. That's the second residential lot. So this paper road that exists between these two lots is currently maintained as like an open grassed area, an extension of either yard. Um, when the commission moves forward to issue an order of conditions for this, because again, I think that the proposed work does meet all of the requirements of the act and something that certainly could be permitted. Um, my question to the commission is how we want to address the buffer area around the wetland. Basically, there's really no vegetative buffer between maintained lawn area and that wetland resource area that's been flagged. And again, I've got some photos I can share with the commission if you'd like, just of the dumping of the yard waste, cut grass, leaves, sticks in that wetland. It's kind of off the site here, but in general, most of the time the commission requires conservation markers along either limit of work, property lines, 25-foot buffer zone. If we were to move forward and issue that order of conditions, what's the commission's thought about how to protect that wetland? The buffer zone that we're really concerned with here is not on site, but it is in this area that's maintained as lawn by either 325 or 337 Thatcher. I don't know who maintains that lawn area or who's responsible for that yard waste dumping. But if the commission wants to address any of that, now would be a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think we need to get the conservation markers there.
But who would be responsible for paying for those? Would that be the
Well, it kind of depends on where you would want them installed, right? So
Yeah,
if it's at the property line and we're just going, it just depends on what the commission's looking at here. I think that even if it's off property, this is public property, this roadway, so city owned. Um, I think that technically, if there's work done on a different parcel, then that entity needs to sign off on the notice of intent. If it's just like markers and we're not doing anything like more than putting like markers up, I don't know that we really need to worry about that. But it just depends on what the commission is looking for, and how we want to address that moving forward. On some projects, if there's been impact in that 25-foot buffer, we have been requesting, a buffer zone restoration plan.
right.
To do something like that, I think that we would have to have the city sign off officially on as the co-owner. Well, as the owner of this adjacent parcel that is the Hammond Street Road. So it just kind of depends on what the commission's thinking. What would be an appropriate, reasonable action, if any, to kind of try to maintain that wetland in a better way and protect it from yard waste and just if they're maintaining it as lawn, any fertilizers that go down throughout the year, it's literally feet away from lawn area to wetland line. So
Mm.
it is certainly a concern. Would you like me to share some photos?
Sure. Thank
I
you.
only took a couple when I was out on the site. When I went out last week, I rang the bell and no one was home, and I didn't want to be, like poking around, taking a bunch of photos of the backyard and stuff. So I accessed the site through that paper road, Hammond Street. So I'm going to share one photo here, and this is kind of the looking out from. I'm kind of standing right by the wetland area here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So the wetland is over. You can see one of the wetland flags here. This pink flag in the woods. I'm standing on that Hammond Street access here, and it's grassed, mowed. The property line is on the left side of these two large trees coming towards me. And just to zoom in here, this is that area that Peter was talking about would be used as the access to the site. So this is that smaller
Oh, yeah.
tree that we looked at on the site plan. These are two larger trees that are outside the limit of work as proposed, and the erosion controls would run somewhere along here, back through the site this way. So it does appear that there is adequate room for a truck, to back in this area, as Peter implied there. So this would be the access area as we talked about before. Just a wetland
No.
flag there. So this is the area of fill yard waste that's been dumped. I don't know that I should have zoomed out farther so you could see the wetland line, but I think the wetland line more or less kind of runs through the bottom of the photo here. So, you know, this isn't the worst thing that I've ever seen, but like, you know, if we can avoid this moving forward, I think that would be good. And so again, all this area that you're looking at here is not on site of 325 Thatcher Street. So that the fact that it's off site makes this a little bit more complicated. But before I can give guidance on how to move forward, I need to know kind of what the commission would like to attempt or to try to do here. Peter, would you mind throwing that site plan back up? I think that might kind of help
Sure.
at this point. Thank you.
Sure, and I guess while you guys are brainstorming, ultimately it's your decision. For me as the engineer, I'm not willing to propose any markers off of our property. If the markers are something that the commission wants, my opinion is they would have to be on site. You know, we could easily put a couple right along the property line. The only thing I don't really like doing with that is now you're putting, you know, it's an open lawn area. You're putting a potential tripping hazard for kids or whoever out there. When we have the option, we like to put them on the tree line or, you know, maybe attach a sign to an existing tree. Um, as far as doing it, you know, to really protect this area, I think functionally, you know, the signs would go along the edge of the wetland. We can't propose that. I don't know if the commission can handle that as a separate, you know, not agenda item, but like if the commission could put a couple markers up, you know, to kind of keep the engineer out of it. You know, I can't propose anything off site. But if you guys wanted to, I don't know how you handle that. Otherwise, you know, maybe we could put a couple, you know, 3 markers right along the 50-foot buffer. Um, that's what we do in a lot of towns. They're pretty firm about the 50-foot thing, and we put them right on the line, whether they're in the middle of the lawn or not. So those are my only input, but up to you guys.
Mhm. Would the city be able to put some on the 25?
I mean, probably. Yeah. I mean, and that doesn't necessarily even have to be attached to this order of conditions. If and I totally agree, you know, with Peter, that it's kind of unreasonable for the commission to ask the applicant to do any work off the site. Um, you know, unless there was like evidence of direct impact. And again, we don't know who's been dumping that yard waste over there. Putting, you know, markers up at the 25 foot that, you know, exists off of both residential sites. You know, I'm not proposing that we put markers unasked for at 337 Thatcher either. But in this paper road area of Hammond Street, that's certainly something that the, you know, as a public, you know, paper street, I think that's something we could certainly entertain, but that wouldn't have to be tied to this order of conditions if the city's going to be the one fronting, you know, the cost of getting those signs made. But again, that's a cost that the commission would bear, and you know, budgets in Brockton, who knows?
Mm.
So,
I'd like to
so
say something.
Peggy, did you?
Yeah. I definitely think markers should be put at the 50-foot buffer because I'm not sure that the owners are aware that the land beyond that shouldn't be, you know, dumped on or, you know, with yard waste and things like that. But something I think needs to be put there.
Well, it's difficult because we've been doing 25 feet. For consistency's sake, we've been doing 25 feet, but it's up to the commission.
Yeah, and another option is, property line as well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
because this whole area is maintained as lawn, I want to echo what Peter was saying. If you put signs out there and Thatcher Street, or not Thatcher Street, the Hammond Street, like Paper Road, is just continuing to be maintained as lawn. You've created more of a hazard than anything else at that point. My intent here also isn't necessarily to go and, stomp my feet and, tell them they got to get back in their own yard. But, we do need to kind of look at the interest of the act here and try to protect that resource area, because right now, it's not, you know, being maintained in a way that is, protecting that resource area.
So as a proposed solution, Peter said he'd be willing to put a mark, some markers to at the 50 foot, and we let them do that as they're doing that work. It doesn't have to be the markers that we want that we can do later at the 25 foot, but shouldn't that still, even at the 50, shouldn't that still be kind of like marked off? Not so much with the signs that we approve and the way we do it, but if they can put something that separates that 50 foot while they're doing that work, like he said other towns have done, would that suffice until we can address the whole paper road at the 25 foot?
Well,
Or
I
is
think,
that too much?
like the limit of work for the proposed project is this burgundy line with that
Right.
sharp angle there, right? So like there's not going to be any disturbance on the resource side of that burgundy line. Um, so putting like a temporary marker in at the 50, I don't know how effective, or necessary that would be. I think that, if anything, if the commission wants to tie something to this order of conditions, because again, just given budget constraints and getting things signed off on getting our own signs made, because I did look into getting those. Some of you have seen those
Yeah.
those graphics that Isaiah put together for the commission. It says like Brockton Conservation Commission, no dumping, yada yada yada, has a little graphic on it. I looked into having the city, purchase, a few hundred of those that we could then sell at cost to applicants so they could install them, and I was advised against going down that route. So it would be, just in general. I know this is kind of a sidebar, but that cost is incurred by the applicant when they need to make those signs. So we would have to make signs specifically for this if we were to do any that's off of the actual property at 325 Thatcher. So I think that if nothing else, maybe at the property line might be appropriate. I mean, it's outside of that 25 foot that we normally try to mark, but because there has been, obvious encroachment here, maintain lawn on the resource side, maybe markers along that southern property boundary would be the path forward for this project.
Yeah.
And we could include that in the order of conditions and have the applicant bear that cost.
Yeah.
Rather
Perhaps
than the commission.
every 30 feet or something like that, or just
Yeah.
a single post with, like the
I
car
mean, that's
wash.
up to the commission. That whole area is within the buffer zone. So
If I
maybe just the area that's, the markers could go on the area of the lot that's within the 50-foot buffer, that purple line, so just along until those trees, maybe.
Yeah, can I propose a couple locations, just to visualize since I'm pointing out the plan? I agree with, the 50-foot buffer. We're basically going to get the same effect if we do it right on the lot line. What if we put something like right here? Again, not to be right in the middle of the yard, but that'll let them know that's the property line and they're entering the resource, or they're in the resource area. So maybe like a marker at the existing tree line on the property line, and then up front where the 50-foot buffer crosses over the property line. I mean, that gives you two distinct points. It's going to establish the property line as well as notify of the resource. I'd really like to keep them out of the middle of the yard if possible, which is my proposal for the two of them. This one will be kind of tight and safe up against the vegetation. This one we could almost just attach right to the existing tree.
Yeah, I think that's close enough, Peter. I agree. Where that tree, I mean, it's basically on the property line. So I think that as far as those 2 points go, I agree with those locations. Yep.
I agree too. That seems
Fine.
reasonable.
And I'm sorry, Kyle, but so we were not able to get signage made that we could then provide at cost? That was not allowed?
Well, I was advised against making that purchase by the law department. So that's a conversation we can circle back to. But at this point, I'm not moving forward with that. And I've
Okay.
provided that graphic to the applicant, and then it's
Okay.
the applicant's responsibility to get
The
those.
applicants have to go and get them. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, if the commission is satisfied with those proposed markers, we've kind of addressed a lot of the concerns that I had on the conservation markers, the site access, and the material stockpiling locations. Uh, all that being said, if the commission is comfortable with, we could potentially issue the order of conditions for this project tonight. A couple special conditions could be the location and frequency of those conservation markers. We could require that any soil stockpiling related to the septic tank installation be located outside the 100-foot buffer zone. And I think beyond that, we've addressed the major concerns that I outlined in my agent report.
That's fine. The only, I do think we have to ask if the public, we haven't asked if public had any comment, have we?
No, but I can look.
So anyone in the public want to speak to 325 Thatcher Street?
Yeah, I've got Lisa's iPhone.
Could you, I don't think we need the map. Do we need the map?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how is everyone doing?
Good. Very well.
Great. I just have kind of a broader question. It came to my attention that the septic tank, I thought residents were supposed to hook up to the sewer system. And I wondered who is allowed to have a septic system and who has to hook up to sewer.
Yeah, I can address that, Madam Chair.
That's a great question. Actually, that was behind, I meant to ask that earlier. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, so this came up in a discussion that I had with Commissioner Clay Talbot and Matt earlier in the week, and so I didn't even think about that when I was doing my initial review. And just the reason I was so curious after that was brought up when I was speaking to those three commissioners is farther to the south on Thatcher Street, we had a sewer extension project that the commission permitted and issued a certificate of compliance for a couple of years ago. So. Ms. Crowley, there is sewer lines to the north of this site, and there's a sewer line to the south of the site, but nothing runs directly in front of the site that would be easy for the applicant to access and hook up to on Thatcher Street, within 150 feet either direction from the lot line, more or less. So outside of doing a major construction overhaul and adding a new sewer line down Thatcher Street, there's no possibility for this to this site to kind of hook up to an existing sewer line.
I see. Okay. No, that's great. I appreciate it. Otherwise, it seems like a good project.
Thanks for calling, Lisa. Good. Any questions? Comments? Do you feel comfortable issuing an order of conditions this evening?
Yep, I do.
I think we could. I guess the final thing is, when we issue the order, the two special conditions that I'm thinking would be the location of those markers as outlined, as previously discussed, stockpile outside the 100-foot, and maybe we just add a continuing condition that like any lawn maintenance should be limited to their property only, rather than
Yeah.
going into the public way there. And then hopefully over time that area can just kind of revegetate and we don't have to worry about, fertilizers and dumping and things like that in the wetland resource area.
Good. If that's the case, I entertain a motion to close.
I make a motion to close 325 Thatcher Street.
I
I
second that
second
motion.
that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, I.
Voris, aye. The motion passes. And now I would entertain a motion, please, to order wait a minute. Issue an order of conditions, please, for 325 Thatcher Street with the stipulations that were stated by Kyle. Kyle, do you want to repeat those one more time? So
Yeah,
we're
sure. So all stockpiling of soil, materials associated with the excavation for the two septic tanks will be located outside the 100-foot buffer zone. There will be installation of two markers as depicted on the site plan as we discussed at the meeting. And then we're going to have a continuing condition on the order of conditions that states lawn maintenance, at 325 Thatcher Street should be limited to the property of 325 Thatcher Street and not exceed into the that paper street.
sounds reasonable.
I make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 325 Thatcher Street with the special conditions outlined by Kyle.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, I.
And Voris, aye. That motion passes. Thank you all for your suggestions, Mr. Lyons.
All right. Thank you all.
Very much.
Have a good night. Good luck with the rest of the meetings.
Happy holidays.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay. Let's see, what's next? Sure. Next one is number 6, 0 Lawton Avenue.
Yeah, I think we've got Glenn with EBT Environmental on the call. He's calling in like he did last time, Madam Chair, so he doesn't have a camera. And I also promoted Edson Lopez, who is the applicant. So let me. Okay, I'm allowing Glenn the phone number here to talk. But Glenn, you are currently muted.
Thank you. Glenn Kowalski, EBT Environmental. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. If I may, Madam Chair, as Kyle had stated, the commission may not have had an opportunity to review what was sent in because it was only today. We had the site inspection. Thank you very much. On the 12/15 at 11. There was quite a few items, I believe, that we reviewed or looked at least in the field. There's quite a bit more work that needs to be done to get to a point of a revision of the plan and the notice of intent. Both would be revised. But that being said, if the commission had no opportunity to look at it, maybe they have the members that were there, and Kyle might have, and the peer reviewer, if he's online, I'm not sure he is. But if there's any comments, we'll take them now. If not, then we'll ask for a continuance to your next meeting to give you time to review what we sent in.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Glenn's referring to a letter that he submitted this afternoon. I did email the commission, but given that it was just earlier today, I don't know that everyone has had a chance to review that. The letter basically goes over what was discussed on site during the meeting that 3 of the commission members had with Mr. Kowalski, myself, the representative from PAR at the site on Monday. So, if anyone has any questions, we can talk about what was discussed at the meeting, or otherwise we can, review this and discuss at next month's meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've read through it. It seems clear, but I think everyone should have a chance to, definitely needs a chance to go through it.
I have not had a chance to read through it.
And that's the same for me as
I
well. I
haven't.
didn't have a chance to.
I would like
I
more
haven't
time
had
to
a
read through
chance
it.
to review it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, through the chairwoman, then we would request a continuance to
Okay.
afford the commission time. If the commission didn't mind, I had one small side item. I will send it
right
to
ahead.
Kyle tomorrow, and it has to do with the legislature passed extensions of 2 years to all permits in existence as of 123 to 125 for 2 additional years. I will send that legislation in, and that's for conservation, planning board, zoning board, all permits. So I'm sure you, only because I was listening to the whole all the projects here, and I do want you to have that piece of legislation in your hands. I will send that out tomorrow. And thank you for affording me that small time to say that. I appreciate it, and I believe I have written at the top of this at 120. Nope, that's a different date. 121/26, I believe, is your next meeting.
That
Yes.
is correct.
January 21st, yes.
Thank you. Any additional information we get, we'll make sure that it is in your possession a minimum of 7 days prior to the meeting. Again, because of the Monday meeting, and we did have some of this base information ready in our database for Monday, but at that time we hadn't sent it out, so we put more information into what I had today with my office, and that's why it just came in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Mr. Lopes, did you say Mr. Lopes was present? Did Mr. Lopes?
Yeah, he was on the call. Yeah, I promoted him.
I just don't see him on the list.
I think Mr. Lopes is leaving mostly everything in my hands to discuss.
Oh, okay.
I do appreciate Mr. Lopes, of course, as a client, but we're talking quite often about what's going on here, and again, we'll have more discussions from this point on. Thank you.
Okay. Then I entertain a motion to continue Zero Lawton Avenue to the January meeting.
I make a motion to continue 0 Lawton Ave to the January 21st, 2026 meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Miss Mapp?
Oh, Map I, sorry. I
Okay.
had it.
Talbot, aye.
And Boris, aye. Okay, so that motion passes, so it will be next month in the new year.
Thank you. A great holidays. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Let's see. The next item on the agenda is number 13-0 Franklin Avenue. And that is a buffer zone enhancement plan.
Yeah, I'm promoting, it's depicted as 5 wetlands. This is Ken Thompson, botanist of 5 wetlands. He is the representative for the applicant. We have previously reviewed this filing. Over the last couple months, we've requested the site plan be amended to, the wetland located on the site be flagged a little bit more to the south side of the property, which affected the buffer zones depicted on the actual site. Then we also requested last month that a buffer zone restoration plan or enhancement plan be submitted to the commission. That has been sent in, and that's been added up to the file. So at this point, the applicant has addressed all the concerns that I originally outlined in my initial agent report. I think that the commission could move forward with the issuance of an order of conditions. Special conditions that would be recommended would just be monitoring language and requirements for that buffer zone area. I'll pull that plan up here just so you can see what we're talking about. And then just how you want to handle the conservation markers, like what kind of marker you're looking at and where you want that to be located. So I'll pull up the buffer zone enhancement plan first. So this is on the southern portion of the site.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is ever outlined anywhere outside of an email that I exchanged with Ken, but this existing fill pile that's depicted on the on this portion of the site is all like loam, it's topsoil. And they plan on using that loam to kind of help regrade the site. There's a lot of like deep divots and trenches, and just it's very uneven in this back area, especially. So they plan on taking this fill pile and just kind of spreading it and filling in those divots and things along the site here. So we originally asked that they do something with this loam pile, remove it from the site, but they plan on spreading it in this area to kind of help just level things out. So this is the buffer zone enhancement plan. Looks like we've got 9 bushes and trees outlined here, and then the area will also be seeded with a New England Conservation Wildlife seed mix. This blue line that you see here is the 25-foot buffer zone. The area that's going to be enhanced with that buffer zone plantings is on the resource side of that 25-foot buffer. So, when we issue the order of conditions, I would recommend, markers along the 25-foot buffer zone for this site.
Does it have to have any erosion controls if you're going to be moving that fill pile?
Yeah, you can see the erosion controls on this, but it's also on the original the main site plan. But that's this like thinner orange line. ECB is erosion control.
Oh, I can see it now. Okay. Yep. Thank you.
And that goes along the entire perimeter, like the down gradient side of the site.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
And here's the revised site plan that has the updated the buffer zone, the updated wetland markers. And again, you see the erosion control all along the eastern side of the lot and then down through the southern portion here.
Mm-hmm. And as far as, okay, so what kind of markers?
That's kind of up to the commission. What would you like to see here? So just to give, and I've got some photos I can share of this back area. We looked at them last month, but there's an existing fence between these two properties that the proposed development is 0 Franklin and this existing building number 13 Franklin Avenue. There's a existing fence that goes all the way down through this portion. And then it's kind of open back here between these several other lots that kind of merge, and join back here. So having a fence kind of come out here might be kind of weird to look at. I mean, you can certainly have that done. We've been kind of looking at post and rail fences. This could also be, just we have those signs that we've developed just on like a post stake like we did at the car washes. I think either would be fine here.
And that would really be up against the new planting anyway. That would be, I don't think it would look bad.
Yeah, it would be right along the limit between the lawn area, presumably, and the plantings back here.
Yeah, I think that would look fine.
You are recommending just the sign on a post?
I think that would be okay at whatever 30. What is that distance? Do you know? Maybe every 30 feet.
This bottom line here looks to be 31, almost 32 feet. So this is probably maybe a 40-foot line, maybe that comes up through here, maybe less than that. So
so maybe three, one at each.
Yeah, one at each of these points. Like right here, kind of through here and then down here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Commissioners, what do you think about that?
Madam Chair, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, sounds good.
I agree.
Good.
3 signs sound good to me.
Good. So that will be a special condition, Kyle?
Yeah, I'll just provide a little bit more context as to where we would like the markers to be placed, the frequency. And then in addition to that, we kind of have a standard language for monitoring. It basically involves 3 monitoring reports, one after the initial planting, documenting what was planted, how many plants, all of those types of things. And then another report after one complete growing season, and then a second report after a second complete growing season. And then they could get that complete certificate of compliance. I might include also language about requirements to receive a partial certificate of compliance. Basically, all the work outside of those monitoring reports needs to be done before issuance of a partial certificate. And then they can come back to the commission after the monitoring is complete, after 2 complete growing seasons to get that complete certificate. If they want to split that up, they could have that option.
We want to make sure everything's stabilized anyway, though, right?
Well, certainly, yeah. I'm not. So the reason that potentially you might include language about what requirements would be needed for that partial certificate is if we wanted to. It just depends on city to city. Kind of handle this differently, but some places they need some sort of certificate before they issue that certificate of occupancy or something like that.
Right.
Sometimes we can include language like that in an order. We don't always, and that's questionable about how well that would hold up if it were ever challenged. So it's kind of one of those things. But we could outline what we need to have to get that partial certificate if they want to move forward with that. It's also fine if they just wait 2 years. They can construct the home. People can move in. They could even convey the property. And then that new property owner would be on the hook for those reports, but they could, get that certificate of compliance, that complete certificate after those monitoring period has been completed.
Commissioners, any comments?
No, I think Kyle's suggestions sound in line. So
Should we ask for site stabilization with that moving of the fill or anything like that?
Well, I mean, so the fill pile is within the erosion control barriers, which would function as the site stabilization. So you mean after the fill pile has been spread out? I mean, I imagine the rest of this is going to be
Yeah, I just don't want to see erosion. I just don't want to see stuff washing into the.
Well, certainly. I mean, and that's the main goal and main charge. So absolutely. My thought would be they would seed that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, so we have conditions in just the standard conditions that we issue that say, after work is completed in any portion of the site needs to be permanently stabilized.
Right.
And that's like the provision that we've traditionally leaned upon. It doesn't say must be planted to grass or anything like that.
No, so
but
stabilized.
that's the assumption. And before they would get that certificate of compliance, the site would need to be stabilized. And I think the intention would be to plant the rest of this to lawn after the loam is spread out.
Can we make that an order of conditions?
Yeah, we can certainly add a special condition. So what would that special condition be, Commissioner Curtis? That it be planted to lawn, grass?
Lawn, grass, anything that's non-invasive.
Sure.
Are trees allowed?
Of course. Trees are never bad, but
Can't require that.
Well, we want to be, cautious in how much we require that. I mean, I think it's appropriate when we're doing like a buffer zone enhancement, but you could ask that trees be placed throughout the lot if you wanted.
Not everyone loves trees like us.
That's right. All right, so that's an additional special condition that we can add, that the lot be stabilized with to grass or some other sort of seed mix after the loam has been spread.
That would be good. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public? Are all present?
Yep.
Lisa, I think you're unmuted. I don't see any hands raised in the attendees list.
I just want. Here, let me try and deal with my volume here. Sorry. There we go. I wondered if 5 Wetlands, Ken Thompson knew of a timeline of when this house would be built, when they would start doing construction.
No, I do not know, but I imagine be pretty quick this spring or something. But I
I'm
can
sorry, could you
confirm it.
repeat that?
I do not know the timeline when they're going to
No.
begin.
Okay, so once you get the permits, what is it like? Because I know that the guy who's supposed to do it's got some problems going on right now. And we wondered if that would affect anything.
I'm not aware of that. No.
No, okay. I'm just wondering. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Is it usually 3 years? Kyle, the order of conditions?
Yes. Orders of conditions are valid for 3 years, and then they can be extended.
Do you guys know if this has gone to the planning board?
No, and I don't think that it would. Isaiah, if he's available here, can maybe speak a little bit more to this, Lisa. But not all developments go before planning board for site plan review. There are certain thresholds that need to be met, and I think for residential, it's like 6 family or plus.
Six units plus.
Six
Or
plus.
like big commercial developments. So site plan reviews generally for like larger developments, and certainly not for like single family. So this would not typically go before planning board.
Okay, just double checking. Because we're just wondering when the utilities will start going in. There's a lot of issues in this neighborhood. So that's all. We're just trying to get a timeline of when this might happen. So they have 3 years under this approval for the conservation aspect of it.
Correct. And then they would have to, once they get this order of conditions, they would then go and apply for the building permit from the building department. And I don't know if there's any stipulation on that end as far as how long the building permit's valid for.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So commissioners, what do you think? Feel comfortable issuing a order of conditions now?
Yeah, I think long as we have the special conditions that we just discussed with Kyle and ironed out, I think that would make sense.
Mhm. Then I would entertain a motion to close.
I make a motion to close the hearing for 0 Franklin Ave.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis,
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
And Voris, aye. The motion passes. The next motion then would be to issue an order of conditions with the special conditions that were listed by Kyle. Kyle, do you want to repeat one last time what that list would be?
Yeah, so this is in addition to the regular conditions that the commission issues, but a specification on the location and number and make of the markers as discussed. The restoration buffer zone enhancement area would language about what type of monitoring reports are required. So we're requiring one after planting and then one after each subsequent complete growing season for 2 years in order for them to get that final certificate of compliance. And then in addition to that, that the site be stabilized with some sort of seed mix, grass, whatever the applicant really wants, once the loam has been spread out on that southern portion of the site.
I think that sounds fine. Ken, any
Fine
questions
with
at all?
that. Yeah, that
Nope.
sounds right.
Okay. So I entertain a motion then for that order of conditions.
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 0 Franklin Avenue with the special conditions as outlined by Kyle.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
Voris, aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr.
Happy
Thompson.
holidays.
Thank you
Happy
very much.
holidays.
The next one is number 17, certificate of compliance for 125 Liberty Street. I think we were waiting for salt sign.
Yeah, that's correct, Madam Chair. I don't know that anyone's here to speak to this, but I did reach out to the applicant, and they conveyed the commission's request to Frank Gallagher, who has been working with Ross Messina, the previous owner of all of these kind of lots back in this area, and the original recipient of the order of conditions. This lot over here at 125 Liberty Street has since been sold, but they kind of deferred to Ross, and Ross had Frank install some signs. So they have been installed. I went out to the site yesterday, and so I've got some photos I can share with the commission of those signs. I've got some concerns about them, but they have been installed at the lease. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's all right.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is the front of the building that faces I think it faces Liberty Street. And the parking area, the main parking area for the lot is kind of behind me. You can see one sign along this entire face of the building, no salt. It looks wonky here because it's only being secured by one screw currently. The well, we'll circle back to the how they're attached here, but this is the same corner, and so there's one sign on each facing of the building on this corner of the building. Um, and this is just a close-up of that section. This is me holding the sign because I was able to pull it right off the wall. And then this is not 125 Liberty Street. This is actually the building on 127 Liberty Street, but they added a couple signs over there too. So there's one over on this side of the building, and then there's another one that says no salt zone all the way over here to the right. But again, this is 127. This is kind of beyond what the commission was requesting. And then this is the other corner of 125 Liberty Street. I'll pull up the site plan so you can kind of see where these are, but they're just basically on either side of this corner here is where it says no salt. These two signs that are secured to this like aluminum siding are attached with this is kind of a self-tapping aluminum or sheet metal screw, and it has a much wider head. So they attach this, and this is very securely attached to the aluminum siding. The problem is over here when they have the masonry, they have, I'm not sure if this is a specialized masonry screw or something they used to attach. What they really needed is some sort of washer on the between the sign and the screw head to really give a larger area that kind of is securing the sign, because you can see here there's a screw that's secured to the building, but the hole that the sign has in it is larger than the size of the screw head, so these things pop off no problem. So I mean, the signs are technically up. I'll show you here in a moment like where these signs are on the building. um you know I've got concerns about how long this is going to stay up here. I think that they could do a better job of attaching them at least to the masonry portion of the building. Let me go back to the site plan so we can show you, so I can show you where these kind of signs are all kind of attached. So the first set with the masonry, that corner is this corner of the building here. So there's a parking lot right off of Liberty Street, and basically there's one sign facing left and one sign facing down right in this corner, and then the other two signs are all the way up on this corner, so the one on either side there. So ideally I'd like to see another sign on this side of the building and maybe another one along this giant length, but I did convey that to Frank over the phone, but that may have been lost in communication. So I don't know. They have added signs. It's up to the commission to decide if what has been done is adequate to meet that condition.
I have a question. Where are the buffer zones?
So that's an interesting question, Commissioner Curtis. So let me pull up a different map for you that might help convey this a little easier. All right, so the lot in question that we're looking at for this certificate of compliance request is 125 Liberty Street. And so you can see what I've got, the purple map or the purple lines on this map are the assessor map, like so the property line boundaries. And so the property in question here of 125 Liberty Street really is just that parking lot in the front and just a little strip of concrete to the south side of the building and this loading dock in the back. So again, those signs that we saw were kind of on this corner of the building, and this corner of the building. Oh man. Okay, so here's the site plan, the as-built that was provided to the commission. And you can see there are these off-site resource areas that are not on the, that don't extend within 125 Liberty Street. We don't have the buffer zones associated with these wetland lines because they just imported these wetland lines from the approved plan of record, which was from 20 years ago. And since that time, there's been impact and modifications to the adjacent property, which is identified as 127 Liberty Street, that has affected and impacted where those buffer zones would effectively be placed today. So right now, there is let's go. Okay, here we go. So I think this building wasn't in place when the original order of conditions for 125 Liberty Street was issued. And so this wetland system, I think, came up here more. So there's been impact to 127 Liberty Street that has affected where the resource areas are that are within proximity to 125 Liberty Street in the last 20, 25 years. So my recommendation to the commission would be to, review 125 as far as the build goes, make sure that it meets all, relevant conditions. There were a lot of conditions in the order of conditions for 125 that are really no longer relevant because the jurisdictional resource area lines have shifted since the issuance of the order of conditions. So this is kind of a weird one.
What is the distance from that loading dock area, that property boundary, to that that line on 127 Liberty?
On the mass mapper map that we're looking at now?
The one that we're looking at now, yeah. Do you have any idea how far that
Which
is?
line? I can measure it for you.
Yeah, from there to where the trucks are parked on the loading dock area.
It's about 88 feet to the property line to where this like retaining wall
Okay.
is.
Okay. I think we'd be hard pressed to say that they haven't met the requirements.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the, I when I reviewed the order of conditions, when we looked at this last month, really the only outstanding condition that was still relevant that hadn't been met yet was the installation of, permanent and prevalently placed, signs saying, no salt zone. So if you think they've met that threshold, that condition, then we could certainly issue that certificate of compliance.
Kyle, where are the signs that were put on 127? Is it that corner, like
Yeah, so
right
this
there?
is the building at 127, the green one that we looked at, and there was a sign on this corner facing the drive back here, and a sign on this corner of the building facing the drive.
But not facing the parking spots. I would think that's where the salt would go.
Well, I mean, but this whole area, I'm sure, is kind of managed and maintained at the same
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
So while the parking area associated with 125 Liberty Street is technically out here, there's one sign that's facing the parking lot on this corner of the building, and that's the
Yeah.
extent over here.
Yeah.
When I spoke to Frank on the phone, I think I mentioned, maybe two signs kind of along this face, two or three along this long face, and then, a sign or two over here in the loading dock area. So that's not exactly what happened, but there are
Question.
signs up.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Where does the snow go when they plow it?
Well, I'm not exactly sure where that would go. Oftentimes they get pushed back to the back here. This is a super old order. I know that's something that you're very cognizant of, Commissioner Curtis, and we do include language in current orders of conditions often where that would be appropriate. But this order does not have any of those conditions. So it's not really fair of the commission to come back 25 years later and issue additional stipulations at this stage of the process.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
Madam Chair, I think in the electric code book, it's called minimum standard requirement. And that's what's etched in our code book. You can always do more, but
Yeah.
you got to hit the minimum. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, they hit the minimum.
Yeah. But perhaps with a note that they need to put those washers in. Maybe they just need to get those screws a little tighter.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. I think I'm comfortable with that. The commission moves forward with the issuance of the certificate of compliance. When I issue that, I'll just convey to the applicant and to Frank that while the commission appreciates that the signs have been installed, specifically in that corner with the masonry, there needs to be a little bit more work done as far as getting them to be attached securely.
Yeah. They're supposed to be kind of permanent, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So commissioners, I think we just need a motion to issue a certificate of compliance if you feel as though that's okay.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion for 125 Liberty Street to issue a complete certificate of compliance.
Okay. Second, anyone?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
And Voris, aye. That motion passes. And I believe, Kyle, you mentioned something about 67 Thatcher Street.
Yeah, so that is the end of the agenda as posted. There were two other additional items that I thought may come up tonight. I did receive an email from the developer of 10 Exeter Street inquiring about the type of fence to be installed. I did respond to that email and basically deferred that question to the commission and told her she should attend the meeting tonight to ask the commission that question. I did not see her in the attendees list, so I think we can just, move forward. The second item that's not on the agenda that I would like to bring to the commission's attention is a property identified as 67 Thatcher Street. I received a phone call last Friday, I don't know, about 10 till 4 o'clock in the afternoon from the building department. They had received a complaint from a neighbor in the area about clear cutting, clearing of a woods back there. So I drove out and spoke to the owner, who is on the call tonight. Now I'll promote him. His name is Enrique Ramos. I spoke to him last Friday, and we arranged to meet at the site this morning. So I went out to the site this morning, discussed what's happened out there, what should have happened, requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act, requirements of the Stormwater Authority as far as land disturbance and things like that. And today, I decided to bring this to the commission's attention so we can decide how you want to move forward with this, because there has been a violation. So all that said, I will go ahead and start sharing some photos and some maps. But I do, Enrique is on the call tonight, so I think it would behoove the commission also to kind of hear from him. So at the chairs,
Yes, please do. Has he been promoted?
I'm just promoting him now.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to begin with like the map and things?
Hi, Mr. Ramos, welcome. Yeah, sure. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
All right, so this is just a map of Mass Mapper, and what we're looking at here is the purple lines are the property bounds from the assessor's map. Lot in question is 67 Thatcher Street. As you can see, it's a very, very long lot, extends all the way back here. At the rear of the property, there's a brook. I think it's probably perennial, but I haven't done any research on that. But there's a brook that flows kind of south east in this direction. It's just slightly off the property, according to the assessor's map and this overlay here. So there's a power plant located down here, and we've done some work on this power plant in the last couple of years, doing some work in this area. But in any case, there are power lines that you can't quite see in this photo that kind of extend along the left portion of the lot line here at 67 Thatcher Street all the way up to the roadway. And again, I do want to let Mr. Ramos speak to the commission, but it's my understanding that Mr. Ramos was interested in putting in some sort of turnabout in the driveway, whether that be in the back or the front. So he reached out to representatives from the city, and they advised him that he could certainly do that roundabout in the front, which has been installed already. And in that dialogue with I don't know who he was speaking to within the city, he also expressed interest in doing some clearing back in the back, and they said, yeah, no problem, just don't get into the water, is what they told him. So he went ahead and basically cleared some of the woods back here. Technically, it's like grubbing, so you're taking out the root systems and the stumps and stuff as well. So there is more land disturbance than just like cutting things off at the surface level. I went out there last week, spoke to him very briefly. They were actively doing work at that point. I asked that he refrain from doing any additional work until we had a chance to meet. And I think that was the case. I went out there today. Over the weekend, we're all aware we got some snow, so it's a little bit harder to see the extent of impact and things like that. But I do have some photos that I took this morning that I can share with the commission. And so the waterway that we saw on that aerial is kind of in this. It's kind of hard to see here, but there's a little low area, kind of a trench that runs along this portion of the site. So you can see tire marks, exposed earth, evidence of tree breakage and just vegetation clearing all the way up through here. My estimation is they got maybe within 5 feet or so of the bank itself. And so again, this is a view down the lot. This is 67 Thatcher Street here. And based upon aerial photos that I was able to see on like Google Earth and stuff, is I think the area underneath the lines was more or less managed. It may have been and Mr. Ramos will tell you that there have been a lot of thorns and briar and bramble and all sorts of things like that through here, but no like tall like woody vegetation underneath the lines. That's maintained by the utility to kind of protect the utility lines overhead. So most of the trees were along, as we're looking at this photo, the right side. Again, this is all I could deduce from old aerial photography on like Google Earth. These flowers here that looked real nice in the snow are kind of what Mr. Ramos put up when they were doing the clearing, just to kind of say, hey, clear to this point. Because again, he was under the impression that as long as he didn't get into the water, he was in good shape. So he was unfortunately ill-advised by someone else within the city. And you can see the waterway kind of in this area back here, right? Finally, yeah, and here's that power plant back over in this portion back here. So I don't think there's any real BVW associated with this brook on the 67 Thatcher Street side anyway. But you can see here, the brook itself is pretty degraded. There are tires and all sorts of just stuff in here. And one of the things that Mr. Ramos was interested in doing is kind of cleaning this area up. So, well-intentioned, ill-informed, unfortunately. And so, there has been impact certainly within the 100-foot buffer zone, and more importantly, within the 25-foot riverfront area, assuming this is a perennial stream. So this is the violation. I've not issued any sort of notice of violation or enforcement order associated with this. Wanted to bring this to commission. Ultimately, if the commission were to issue an enforcement order, you would have to ratify it if I issued it anyway. So I thought we should talk about it tonight. And if you choose to issue that, I can get to work on that. But just this is kind of where we are with things. And if you want to hear from Mr. Ramos, I'm sure he'd like to tell you his side of things.
Yeah, I certainly would like to hear from Mr. Ramos. Thank you. Enrique, can you hear us? Mr. Ramos, are you there?
He's been promoted to panelist, but he is muted. So I'm not sure if
I just don't know if he can hear us. I wonder if he just,
Hello?
hi, Mr.
Can you
Ramos,
hear?
how are you?
How we doing? Sorry.
No, no.
Yes. I bought the property in July. It was very rubbishy back there. I was getting a lot of deers, a lot of wild animals. There was a lot of mosquitoes. There was a lot of bugs. I just wanted to clean the area. I asked for permission. They told me as long as I don't touch the water or the sidewalk, I could do whatever I want from here to the water creek. Innocently, I I scraped the floor to try to get all that the rose thorns that are growing under the earth, and I just want to scrape all that out so I could reseed it with grass. I'm not building nothing on there. I'm not doing any holes. I just wanted to clean the spot, the place, because I have two grandkids. I got four kids that I want them to play with the land, and they couldn't play back there. So all I did was scrape the floor and try to clean up the place a little bit more. Somebody called the city, and now I'm here. So I don't know what the next step is. I know Kyle came on Friday. He said to stop working. I did, and I don't know where to go from here.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
all.
Ramos.
Thank you.
Kyle?
Sure. So what the commission should be looking at here is, I think the one resource area of consideration here is the waterway. As I said, I don't believe there's BVW associated with this. The bank is very clearly defined. I didn't really do any digging back there today, so I can certainly go back and confirm that. But my thought is that we're really looking at 100-foot buffer to bank and 25-foot riverfront. And in similar instances where we've had people, single family residential lot impact up to the bank, what comes to mind for me is 155 Winthrop Street. We had that property owner do a restoration of the 25-foot riverfront area and let them do the rest of the impact up to that point however they wanted. I think Mr. Ramos's intention is to seed this eventually to lawn, and I think that that's certainly something that can be done within the buffer zone. There's no rules against that. Ideally, for something like this, I think that a notice of intent or an RDA should have been filed beforehand, and then we would have been able to inform him, hey, do whatever you want, stay out of that 25-foot buffer zone, and we could have all just gone on with our business. But unfortunately, there has been impact to that area. So the question is to the commission, what do you all think is necessary, if anything, to restore that area or to, whatever, right? So there could be potentially a 25-foot buffer zone, enhancement that could be done here. We could leave it to be revegetated naturally, all the way to, full replanting of the 100 feet, which I think is, overboard, right? So there's a lot of discretion here, but my recommendation would be kind of stick to that 25-foot riverfront area as far as area to be restored.
Enhancement. Yeah. I think I would agree. I think I would be afraid that if it was left natural, that you would end up with all the multiflora roses coming back again. At least if you plan, you can get plantings and things like that that would prevent the overgrowth of invasives and things like that. That's prime invasive property, right?
Well, especially after disturbance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would we require him to put up markers for the 20-foot buffer zone?
Yeah, I think that if the commission moves forward with some sort of riverfront restoration or enhancement, I think markers along that area would be appropriate.
Is this something that could be just done, Kyle? without an NOI or?
Yes, I think that this should be done. Well, I
It's
think
just a
probably
violation.
under an enforcement order rather than a notice of violation. The difference kind of between those two, a notice of violation and enforcement order, the enforcement order is legally binding, whereas the notice of violation is just a strongly worded letter. Um, and because if the commission is going to require action, I think that the enforcement order would be appropriate. Um, but in that, it would be just, restoration of that 25-foot riverfront area. So,
How long, Mr. Ramos, how long is that, the back of your yard? How wide up against the river?
From the beginning of my house?
No. Across like, if you're looking at the river and
Yeah.
you look at the sides of your yard.
I'd say it's almost 100 feet.
100, okay.
yeah, I'm measuring it now on Mass Mapper. It's about 86
Okay.
feet along that bank there.
Okay. So it would just be making that more natural, right?
I got one question. There's a lot of rubbish and debris inside that water creek. I had someone come from the city and they told me that they can't take that out, that I would have to take that out myself. Is that the deal? I got to take out all those tires, the cooler, and the cabbage that is in that water creek. I'm responsible for that.
My opinion, I'm gonna pull up the Mass Mapper again,
Okay.
It looks like the creek's not even on your property, to be frank. I think that this is 67 Thatcher here, and
Yeah.
it looks to me, it's pretty well defined here where the bank of this brook is, and it appears that your property line, without being surveyed, it's hard to tell exactly, but from the aerial overlay, it looks like the creek isn't technically on your property.
Okay. Okay. Even if it's not on my property, it brings flies and animals in the summer a
Mhm.
lot. There's a bunch of bugs there that you see, a whole bunch of them because all the wild animals that are back there. So if I have to clean it, I will clean it. I just don't want the bugs, the ticks, because now my grandkids are going to be playing further back there. So that was the problem. And you seen when you came, all the things that are in the floor that we trying to, get rid of. Is that going to be okay I could do that myself, or do I need to pull permission for that?
I think that if you're, and we're talking about some of those photos that I showed the commission, were like tires and like literal rubbish junk that was in the waterway here. And I don't think anyone on this commission is gonna argue with you about you removing those tires from the waterway.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure because I was told when I first bought the property not to touch the water, not to touch the sidewalk. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think
Okay.
that removal of those foreign objects is one thing, and I think everyone would thank you for that. But it's
Okay.
when you start, if you're excavating, and impacting the bank or the
Okay.
plant foliage within the waterways and we're talking about this 25-foot buffer zone
Okay.
to that area is kind of where you want to kind of just do hands off.
Okay. Okay.
Does that belong to the power plant, that actual little piece of land that
Yeah,
attached?
it's part of
Yeah.
this larger. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't have the assessor's
Yeah.
information on the mass mapper, but yeah, it's part of this. It's owned by one utility or another. I
Yeah.
don't know who owns this lot. This big open space here that might be owned by the city. Um, you know,
Yeah.
Generally speaking, on smaller streams, brooks like this, while that infrastructure, that stream itself is a protected resource area under the act, it's also functioning as part of the stormwater management for the city. But it's the responsibility of the property owner to maintain areas
Yeah.
like this. Now, when we get to the larger, rivers and named brooks that aren't on a specific property, they're like on public property. Those are maintained by DPW.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So commissioners, do you feel as though an enforcement order is warranted here?
Madam Chair, can I ask a question for you?
Please do.
And Kyle, I think Mr. Ramos's intent was not to affect anything, actually to improve the area. What would be the easiest way that we could guide Mr. Ramos into getting this done correctly, to the best of the city and for him?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple options here, Commissioner Talbot, right? I think a more soft gloves approach might be a notice of violation, explaining, obviously we're kind of talking about this all now, putting this all in writing, having a formal letter mailed. But the real question is, what does the commission want as remedial action, if anything? If it's just don't touch the 25-foot riverfront area anymore, a notice of violation, I think, would be sufficient. If you are going to be requiring any remediation to be done, you know, then you're getting into a more gray area. You could ask that that be done under the notice of violation. And if Mr. Ramos complies, wonderful, great. That's fantastic. If he doesn't, then we're at square one on a legal level, and we would have to go through and come back in 6 months, a year after we've exhausted voluntary compliance and issue that enforcement order anyway. So, if the commission is going to be requiring anything at all, my recommendation would be just to begin with the enforcement order. That way it's there. And if, it sounds like Mr. Ramos is wanting to comply and will do what needs to be done here to bring the site into compliance, and that's great. But if not, we don't have to start from square one in a year, is my thought. But ultimately, this is up to the commission.
I just wanted to clean the place. That's all I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
To echo Commissioner Talbot and Mr. Ramos, I totally agree with both of them. I don't think there was any ill intent here. And I think the commission should weigh that when they're considering this.
Yes. Ruby, do you have any input or Sharifa?
I agree with the plan. Like, I agree that Enrique seems to be very, like Justin said, we need to work with something to help him, because he seems like he's very committed to doing things the right way. And I think this is educational for him. He didn't know. He thought he was approaching it the right way. I don't think he should, have to suffer because someone gave him bad information.
Thank you.
I agree. I think he had good intentions, but he got bad advice. So I don't want to, overburden him, but I think we definitely need to do something. Some markers maybe, or some restoration.
Lily, Sharifa?
I'm in agreement with, a couple markers and restoration. I think, to ensure that it sounds like, who's very compliant and everything, but just, we've done it in the past with the other properties, like Kyle was saying. I think just doing it under the enforcement order, that way we have that kind of legal backing for whatever reason. But I don't think we'll have an issue with, it doesn't sound like we'll have an issue with them. I think just to have that backing for us, and just also just,
Mm-hmm. As opposed to a letter of enforcement, a letter of violation, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll both have, they'll have the writing to help guide them and stuff. But I think just for us, our sake and the interest of the making sure there's no other impact, just making sure we have that kind of legal backing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, rubber stamping what everybody else said.
Okay.
Very clean.
So if that's the case, then would someone want to make a motion to issue an enforcement order for Kyle to write up an enforcement order for Mr. Ramos? So that would guide him towards what was necessary?
And just to clarify, that enforcement order would require Mr. Ramos to submit a 25-foot riverfront enhancement plan or restoration plan to the commission for approval before implementation. And then we would have a deadline of whatever the commission's thinking for that after the plan's submitted and approved.
Is that something, Kyle, that you'd be able to help him work through?
As far as developing the plan,
or just as far as
certainly like what steps, who to reach out to. Absolutely. We looked at one restoration plan by 5 wetlands earlier tonight. Ken's done several for various projects around the city, so he might be a great contact to start with. But yeah, I mean that's the kind of level that we're looking at here, right? A series of plantings, and just kind of depicting
signage. And some signage, yeah.
Yeah, and then signage, right?
Yeah. So I entertain a motion then? Would someone make a motion?
I make a motion to issue an enforcement order for 67 Thatcher Street with the stipulations of the 25-foot riverfront area enhancement plan and the installation of conservation markers.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
To clarify before we vote on this, what kind of time frame for the submission of the plan would you like to see in the order?
Well, it's too late for anything planting now to come up.
Just for the plan, though. Just for the plan.
Right. So the plan can include, the time frame for the planting, but the plan that will ultimately be submitted to the commission is what the commission will approve, and then we can hold the applicant or the property owner to the time frame outlined in that plan. But as far as getting a plan in hand for you to look at, what time frame would you like to have on the enforcement order? 2-3 months?
I got a question.
2 months. Oh.
Yes, Mr. Ramos.
When you say I got a plant and I have a time frame, I wasn't planning to put anything back there. I just wanted it to put, seed it and let it grow grass, and that was it. Do I need to put any vegetarian back there or anything? I just wanted it to be open and clean.
Yeah, so there, if I may, Madam Chair, there's
please.
And we kind of spoke about this earlier today, Enrique. There are several different overlapping resource areas near that waterway that the commission has jurisdiction over. We talked about the bank being one of those. The commission has a 100-foot jurisdictional buffer zone to that bank, and it doesn't mean you can't do things within that buffer zone. But in addition to that buffer zone to bank, there's a separate resource area that is jurisdictional in and of itself under the act, and it's that 25-foot riverfront area along the bank. So that's the area that the commission is mostly concerned with, is that 25 foot, and we need to kind of restore that. And at this point, because there has been impact, the commission just wants to improve that area, so it'll have some trees and things planted back there.
I'm all for improvement. Thank you.
Okay.
May I recommend a 3-month time frame from date of issuance? That way, that will give Mr. Ramos and I plenty of time to kind of coordinate, and I can kind of guide him through that process.
And I'll get us past through the holidays.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then as soon as you have your plan, it'll be almost warm enough to plant.
Thank you.
I hope.
So that will bring us to March 18th meeting?
Maybe. It depends on when I actually get around to getting this order issued, but around that area, springtime, certainly.
Yeah. Good. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramos, for being so cooperative. Really.
Thank you. And happy holidays to everyone.
Really appreciate your being here as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So I did interrupt the motion, Madam Chair, for the enforcement order.
So the motion was made, correct? Was it made?
I made it. I can make it again.
No, it's okay. Was it seconded? I don't think it was seconded.
I'll second it, but we're going to add Kyle's 3-month time frame in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, aye.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
And Voris, aye. And Kyle, since we've done that, that means we won't have to accept it after it's done, right? Because we've already.
That's correct. So normally, if I were to issue the enforcement order, the commission would have to ratify that order at their next meeting.
Right.
But the commission's voting to issue that order themselves, so there will be
So
no
we don't have to worry
ratification
about
required.
ratifying. But
That's also why I wanted to be very specific as to what the conditions were, because this is going to be verbatim from you all tonight.
Sure. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I think that's it on the agenda.
Make a motion to end the meeting or join the meeting.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Clay, aye.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Nap aye.
Talbot, aye, with a happy Merry Christmas to everybody.
Happy
Yeah.
holidays.
Same to you.
Voris, aye as well.
See you next year.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Have a great
Happy
Bye.
holidays. See you
Christmas,
next
Happy
year.
New Year.
Holidays.
Been a good year, actually.
Happy
Take care.
holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.